Hello everybody, my name is Benjamin Bloom, here for the Championship Preview show. Once again, I'm in an apology mode. It is 9:12 AM. I am up in Nottingham for Forest versus Derby. The week just took me over this week. My MacBook broke. I had to work an extra night on Wednesday. Just could not get stuff done during the week, and I just needed a rest yesterday. So I've got up early. Hopefully this is out in time to be of some use for you before the round of championship games, game week number 16. And we've got another international break coming up, number 3 of the season. I would normally say, and all of the upheaval that brings, but perhaps all the upheaval has already happened and we might get a newsless international break. That never happens, does it? And it's kind of, I don't know if it's a quirk of the fixture computer. There's probably some algorithm that makes it happen. But Derby matches here at Forest, over in Cardiff, the 7-side derby, and Millwall Charlton. Well, that will be tasty in South London, won't it? Let's start at the top as ever. I always say that, don't I? Hull in 11th, host leaders West Brom. I have this sense that West Brom, if they'd got even into 4th gear, could be really nice and clear at the top now and out on their own, which kind of illustrates the point still that there is no team out on their own this season. They drew those 2 home games in the 3-game week, even just those 2 extra points, and they would be, very short priced, I think, now and out in front. That said, they've only lost once all season, and that was under the lights at Leeds, which is never easy with Mr. Bielsa there, is it? Nice run though since that defeat, 11 points in 5 games, so they are churning it out very nicely. They had to wait until the Monday night to get their victory at Stoke. They saw a couple of teams overtake them, but did the business nonetheless. Hull, however, are on the longest winning streak in the division. They have won 3 in a row, the Tigers. Victories over Forest, Derby and Fulham. Little bit of a shake-up with Bowler coming in on the wing and Bowen going up front. Although it just seems wherever you put Bowen, he scores. So he's in great form at the moment, and Hull are in great form at the moment. So should be an interesting one. Should be goals in it. In terms of a prediction, I think Hull might ride the wave and get something out of this one. I don't see them winning, but shall we say a scoring draw with Bowen to score again and Pereira to assist again for West Brom, if the form is anything to go by? Or, well, that's my prediction, but could West Brom lay down some kind of marker and just go there and have a nice win and a clean sheet? Be interesting. I'll go for the scoring draw. Preston versus Huddersfield. Preston looking to flex that brilliant home record. All of that Alex Neil kerfuffle is over now. We'll say more when we get on to Stoke about that. So it's Preston in 2nd against Huddersfield in 18th. As I say, temporarily, they were one of the teams that went top. Swansea went top, then Preston went top, and then West Brom went top. That's how it seems to be panning out this season. Looking very, very good. As I say, very good at home. I'm sure we'll see more of the rotation. Big Stockley's got games recently. I don't know whether he's now going to be the main guy up top there for Preston. Could go into the internationals break on 3 wins in a row. Huddersfield, so impressive. Top of the form charts. 14 points in the last 6. Outstanding form. It's got progressively harder in terms of the difficulty of the fixtures, but they seem to be getting progressively better, don't they? I thought Brentford away was going to be the one where this run would come to an end, but they went there and they won. Bit of an XG buster, but how many times do we see that with teams winning away at Brentford, sitting back, absorbing and then punishing? This, however, is a different ball game. I think Preston away is a lot harder than Brentford away this season, even though Brentford away is pretty difficult. Preston, the best team in the league in terms of a home team points total. So let's say form continues then. Let's say I predict Preston for the home win, their run to continue. I think it'll be tight, but I think this is where Preston, having basically two players for a lot of positions and a lot of possibilities, might take over. But if the Cowleys can do this, putting a lot of caveats today, aren't I? Then maybe they can actually be in the top half, let alone just stabilising and having a good go next season with their year 2 parachute money. That said, I'm going to go for it to be a third Preston win in a row, and Alex Neil to solidify things there with the fans and say, look, here I am and we're going to keep winning. Speaking of keeping winning, can Leeds keep winning? Leeds third versus Blackburn in 16th. We all remember, those of us that follow the Championship, certainly, you wouldn't be watching if you didn't, that crazy game, it must have been New Year's Day or in between Christmas Day and New Year's last year, where it was a crazy weekend actually. I think it's when Derby beat Norwich possibly in the last minute, loads of last minute late goals, or Norwich drew with first, I can't remember. It seemed that all the top teams were just doing it late on in these games, and Leeds bundled in Kemar Roof that stupid late goal, even though they went behind in 91 minutes and still won the game with 2 stoppage time goals. 8 points in the last 4 for Leeds, so that's picking up. Fascinated to see if Bielsa sticks with this 3 at the back. He's very much a manager that lays down a philosophy and then runs with it. So maybe he will. Maybe this will now be it for the next 30 games. That does seem to be the case with his style, so it wouldn't surprise me. Cooper back in the starting lineup. Hernandez back off the bench for the win over QPR. Tyler Roberts dropped in behind Bamford in that one, so it'd be interesting to see if he keeps his place. If he's more a forward-thinking player, that gives them another option with Nketiah and Bamford up the top there. Blackburn seemed to have hit rock bottom there. It would have been 7 games without a win and not many points. I think probably 5 defeats in those 7. They went behind late on against Sheffield Wednesday last week, but big turnaround, big last 10 minutes there for Tony Mowbray. So first win in 7, and that bumps them up to 16th and just trends them upwards. The only worry, I think, for Blackburn is that he knows the best team, he's playing the best team, and it isn't clicking. So there's 2 things that could happen there. 1, it could click and they'll be fine. Or 2, it's not going to click and there's holes in certain positions and quality, and it's going to be bottom 8 again for Blackburn. In terms of this one, I just don't see Blackburn going away to Leeds and being progressive enough to win. I think their best case scenario is sitting back. They could snatch the goal. Leeds will give you a goal because they're so pure and open, aren't they? But I think Leeds create enough chances today to get the win. Shock and awe. Ben predicts Bielsa to win for the 5 millionth time. This should be a good one. Wednesday in 7th versus Swansea in 4th. Swansea, 2 big wins in a row. As they were trending downwards as well, they won that South Wales derby and then a late win against home specialists Wigan. I didn't expect that to happen, I have to be honest. It had been 1 point in 3 games. Can they now produce a run like August, where I think it was 5 wins and a draw, wasn't it, in the first 6? They're one of 3 teams that could go into the international break with 3 wins in a row. And like Hull, who are on a good form, it's a wide guy playing down the middle with Ayew up the top there, no Baston, and that has been working with him leading the line. Wednesday, they're the latest victims of this crazy tight league table, as in draw 1, lose 1, and you drop down about 5 places. No margin for error, at the moment. Certainly down to like 14th, I think. Plan looks very solid. They've only lost once at home this season. They didn't have Bannon last week, and they will today. I think this could be rather similar to the game I saw Sheffield Wednesday versus Leeds in terms of the two styles, that Wednesday will be stable and solid. I sound like Theresa May, don't I? God. And sit back, but will create chances. They do have that quality with Bannon reach, and they can get the ball to Fletcher, and it has been Nuyu, and it has been two up top, hasn't it? So, do you know what? I think Wednesday might win this one. I think Swansea could score, but if Bannon's back, they should just be too solid. So I'm going to predict Swansea not to have the 3 wins in a row. And Wednesday, you would think, given that one team wins one week, then loses the next, and everyone swaps around the next week, that would put Wednesday probably back in the top 5, wouldn't it? Let's go for a home win for Gary Monk. Next one, Forest versus Derby. I will be there. We're kicking off in 3 hours. Looking forward to it. Look out for the review. Remember, I suppose most of you will be at games this afternoon, so pick it up in your feed after the games at 3 o'clock. Forest 2 defeats and a postponement in a row. Wasn't going well. That was their first slip of the season as well. Bounced back well at Luton. Grab them back in the goals always bodes well. It's going to be my first time seeing Forest this season, a Sabri Lamucci team. So hopefully I can start to give a bit of a better insight once I've seen them in the flesh. Derby still in the news with the Keogh thing during the week. Their current form is win at home, lose away, win at home, lose away, win at home. May give you an indication as to what might happen today. My big hope for this is they were very tight and very tense. I was at both of the Forest Derby games last season. Only 1 goal in the 180 minutes, and that was Forest starting the home game well and scoring from a set play, because Derby just bit swamped by the atmosphere. I think they got Mulligan tired, didn't they? I think Derby are going to be fairly solid in this one, but I don't think they're going to be able to keep Forest out. It's going to be tight again with these two managers, both high on team shape from what I know. I think Forest are going to edge it. Let's predict a Forest home win like last time, and they keep the bragging rights in this fixture. Speaking of bragging rights, it's another derby. Cardiff in 14th versus Bristol City. M4 derby, 7-side derby, whatever you want to call it. I saw Bristol City last Friday. They collapsed late on at Barnsley. They should have won. Brownhill didn't finish that game. And we don't have the obvious partner up front for Vyman. It was Jeju. They played Watkins. They've played Rodri. They've played Semenyo. They are missing a Phobe. But Callas is back. He's quality, isn't he? And you need quality at the back when you play away at Cardiff. Last game didn't go typically Cardiff, because there were 6 goals in it. Big 4-2 win. Joe Rules scoring a hat-trick from centre mid. He is, I'm afraid, doubtful. No Morrison either. And whenever Warnock seems to get a solution here, I think last time it was Ward and Mendes Lang and Hoylett, I think, and a front 3 with 3 centre midfielders. He may now... Well, he definitely doesn't have Ward because he got himself sent off, so Glatzel presumably comes back in. Does he go back to a number 10? I suspect he'll stick with a 4-3-3 and Glatzel fills that hole, but Rules will be a miss in the central midfield there. That could force him to go back to a number 10. Given Bristol City collapsed, they're going to have to stand up strong here. You'd expect them to have more of the ball. I think Cardiff are going to win. I'm going to back Cardiff in this one, even though the reason that the goals started flowing might be the change, and it might be Joe Rules having a very good game. Two of those goals were penalties, weren't they? Yeah, let's go for a Cardiff home win in that one, which would put Bristol City, you think, out of the top 6. Birmingham versus Fulham. Birmingham in 12th, Fulham in 8th. A little bit tetchy down at Fulham, especially given a 3-0 home defeat, and it looked like they played right into Hull's hands last week. Lots of talk about Scott Parker tactically. Is he stubborn? Has he got the classic 606? He's got no plan B. Has he, though? Is it actually a valid point for once rather than some dumbass football cliche that it often can be. There's only 5 points in the last 5 games for Fulham, so not good form. Down to 8th spot as the sun starts to blind me. Only a few minutes left, don't worry. 6 wins in 15 for the season. And I'm hearing things like Stefan Johansson going out and playing wing-back against Kamil Grosicki. Sometimes 4 at the back, sometimes 3 at the back. Big switch up when Joe Bryan went out injured last week. We will see what Parker does today. I'm going to do that and try and protect myself. Nothing's working. There we go. The joys of filming in a car. Blues, well, decisive results in each of the last 13 games. They either win or they lose, which on the one hand is good because it proves that Pep Clotet can win games at this level. But obviously, he's quite susceptible as well at the moment. French forward Jeremy Bella has come in on a free, which agrees with what I said, that the fullbacks look fine, centre-halves solid. Maybe they could do with a keeper. I know a few people think that. Midfield, I really like the look of Crowley, Bellingham, Villable, maybe Gardner, Sunjic in that zone there. But yeah, so maybe still missing Che Adams a little bit there. They're very good at home. 5 wins from the last 6. So this now has the air of one that's difficult to call. You'd always make Fulham favourites to beat Birmingham in terms of quality. But are they flaky? And is Birmingham away a place you can go and win if you're flaky? It's going to be a bit of a binary narrative, this one. Either it's going to be, no, Parker's not up to it and they'll lose, or no, Fulham are going to be fine. Or which way is it going to go? Controversial. Let's back Birmingham to continue their Come on, I'll go with it. That was obviously my instinct. Let's back Birmingham to continue their amazing home record. I would not be surprised if this was 3-0 one way or 3-0 the other way. God, you got to love the Championship. QPR versus Borough. Rangers is great fun at the moment, isn't it? Young players, loads of goals. Back-to-back defeats, though. Like a few teams we've mentioned, it's a harsh mistress this season. If you don't score either 3 or 4 points for a 2-game period, you just drop 5 places, don't you? And QPR have 0 points from the last couple of games. Bit of a sense that the way they play plays into QPR, that they can knock down lesser teams by just creating loads of chances, but they're too open against the big teams. That seems to be the way it's playing out under Warburton. Borough, very worrying. We've already had the big shape change of formation, and no, it's not working. We're going to try this, and I'm not comparing Borough to Ipswich last year. Obviously, Ipswich, my team, because Ipswich were just heinous and awful last year. But there was a pattern of build up ahead of steam, play well for 10 minutes, not take your chances, concede, fall apart. And we're seeing big chances missed and then Borough conceded and then going on to lose. So it's a big worry. They're into the bottom 3 and the 2 below them have already fired their managers. Indeed, 5 of the bottom 8 now have fired their managers. And I've got to go with QPR, I'm afraid. And the narrative that QPR will create a lot of chances, and even if Borough do score in this one, QPR do well against the lesser lights. Home win, QPR. Here's another of the derbies. It's Millwall versus Charlton. Another South London derby, this one. Charlton, like QPR, exceeding the expectations. Possibly a regression to the mean. Did they catch those first 6 teams, the first 6 games where they scored 14 points? Did they play teams at good times there? Brentford before they got going, Reading before the managerial change, Stoke at a good time. Well, any time's been a good time to play Stoke this season. It's then been 8 points in the next 9, and they seem to have then got all of the top 8 teams within that period. Or is this just what Charlton's level is going to be? I'm sure the fans would be happy if they're around 10th spot and they're beating the lower lights, like I've just kind of said QPR do, and struggle against top sides. They just want to solidify themselves in the division, don't they? Millwall under Rowett so far, 1 win, 1 defeat. Generally, though, the form's all over the place. Drawn, 1 lost, drawn, 1 lost is about as all over the place as you can get. No, win, lose, 4-0, 4-0 is back. You take my point, don't you? Jed Wallace in great form, goal scoring wise. We're looking to see Rowett just maybe slightly change the pattern of play, but using Neil Harris's tools. I've mentioned repeatedly about it being Ben Thompson and Tom Bradshaw and players of that nature rather than a Matt Smith or a John Daddy Budvarsson bustling away up front. So let's see if he can do this or he will have to go big guy in the end. It's going to be interesting, this one. Charlton's press is great from midfield with Cullen and Gallagher. I think Charlton will score. I think it will be a bit of a slugfest. I think it'll be a scoring draw, probably. It'll be loud in there as well. It's going to be a good, fun afternoon at the Den. Not if you're police, though. Wigan in 20th versus Brentford in 13th. Typical Brentford, 3 wins in a row, then lose at home to Huddersfield in that typical XG busting thing that we mentioned earlier. The 11 looks quite settled. Looks like Norgard and De Silva and Makocho's enough protection for that really good front three. You do have to sacrifice a little in midfield, but will the inconsistencies continue? Wigan, that prodigious home record, took an L last time, but still tight against Swansea. The Wigan have an air that they're actually playing fairly close to their potential so far and just losing out in some tight games. So we'll see if I'm right about that. Kiefer Moore finally off the mark. Does that open the goal tap for him? If this goes to form, then it will be typical Brentford. They'll be too flaky and Wigan will win up north. Surely it can't be that straightforward, surely. Let's say that's what's going to happen. Let's predict a Wigan home win. Again, though, I wouldn't be surprised by Wigan winning by 1 and Brentford not scoring but having 82% possession or something ridiculous. I wouldn't be surprised if Brentford won 3-0, though. I know it's not fair for me to throw out 2 binary options like that, but let's go with Wigan and the home record and Brentford's flakiness in the cold northwest to be the narrative. Reading in 19th versus Luton in 21st. Bottom 6 clash. Not the only one more to come. Reading in great form under Mark Bowen. 7 points in 3, including that win over high-flying Preston. Maybe a little bit lucky in the 7th, 8th minute of stoppage time. Given the postponement at Forest, it's worked out really nicely so far for Mark Bowen. 3 home games out of his first 4. After what most people considered an interesting appointment, to say the least. After 15 games, Luton find themselves 1 place above the relegation line, where possibly many of their fans would hope they would finish the season and be perfectly happy with. They're very open, they're very brave, they will go for it. They're losing a lot of tight games in that way, and they're conceding a lot of goals, to the point that record signing Sluga is now bombed out and Shea stays in goal. Results, however, are worrying. 4 defeats in the last 5. I like Luton. I endorse the way they play. I think that's the only way they can stay up, by just going for it and keep doing what they're doing. These are the games where they need to take points against bottom 6 rivals. It goes a long way. So it's going to be a hard one for Luton. I think they'll score. Go for a draw. We'll sit on the fence and go for a draw. If Luton start losing these games against bottom 6 teams, I'm worried, though. I like them. I want them to stay up because I live close to there. But they're not going to stay up if they can't take points in these key clashes. But don't for 1 minute think I'm being critical. Luton should continue doing what they're doing. Izzy Brown in good form as well on the metrics. Barnsley 23rd versus Stoke in 24th. I saw Barnsley last week. They had that air of bottom side, whereby they played really well for 10 minutes, created a load of chances, missed them all, and then conceded a goal. The first dangerous free kick Bristol City got just before half time. Conceded from another set play, but then did come back and show a lot of character. They've got Mowat playing well, they've got Woodrow playing well. There's this undercurrent, though, of sack the board and whatnot at home games, and obviously they haven't won since the opening day of the season, which by any metrics is not good. Stoke have a new boss. I will endeavour, maybe after I've filmed this, to do a bit on Michael O'Neill. New manager bounce anybody? I think so, possibly. I think a new broom, a new face in there. It's no coincidence they've done it before this game as well. We're all ready for Stoke to actually start doing it. Can this be the turnaround? Sometimes it doesn't turn around though, but, and I know I'm the millionth person to say this for the billionth time, too much quality in that Stoke squad for them to stay bottom all season, isn't it? Surely. Let's go for a Stoke away win. Michael O'Neill to take them off the bottom straight away. Right, thank you for watching. I will try and get back into a better organised mode as we go into this next run. I get some time off work, obviously, over Christmas. Really, that is the... it's a big, long slog now up to the New Year in the FA Cup, isn't it? So I do apologise if you were hoping for this video yesterday. Follow me on Twitter at Benjamin Bloom. Look out for the Forest Derby review later on. I'll do that funny thing where I say I won't plug my Patreon, and then really I'm plugging my patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. But I will try and deliver content a bit more on time. I know your heart is bleeding, but full-time job, trying to get YouTube videos out every day is tricky, but hopefully you'll appreciate this one, even though it is better late than never. Thank you for watching. Has it gone over freezing yet? Forest Derby coming up. Review tomorrow. Enjoy the game week number 16.